Welcome to Al's Air Guns. Today we're taking a look at the Gamo P-27, a .177 caliber semi-automatic dual ammunition CO2 powered pellet/BB pistol. Capable of operating in both single and double action modes, the P-27 has a magazine capacity of 16 rounds and produced velocities of 322 feet per second with 8.3 grain pellets or 345 feet per second with standard .177 caliber steel BBs. And get a weight on our P-27. It is loaded with CO2 but does not have BBs or pellets in it. And it weighs in at 1 pound and 4.1 ounces, which is 570 grams. Okay, let's get a trigger weight on our Gamo P-27. We're going to test it first in double action using my Wheeler trigger gauge. And that reads just a little over 7.5 pounds. All right, let's go ahead and try single action. Let me reset the gauge here. Get a single action pull. And that came in at 4.9 pounds. Not too bad. And let's try that double action again once more. I'll make sure we got a good reading. Okay, yeah, looks like we are exactly 7.5 pounds on the double action pull. Okay, let's talk for a moment about the ergonomics of the P-27. I like the grip. The grip really fits my hand well. I feel like it leaves the pistol positioned quite naturally for shooting. Yeah, it just really suits me. It's filling in the backstrap area. These finger grooves are in no way obnoxious or intrusive, but they do actually help position the pistol well. I find that I would give that, certainly like a 9 out of 10 in terms of the ergonomics of the grip. The safety is another matter. It's a bit weird. The down position is on safe, and to let the pistol fire, you have to flick it up like that. Something that is not very easy to do with any kind of a firing grip. Very, very awkward. Easy to put it back on safe, but to make ready to fire, you can do it after you can do it part of the time. So not incredibly happy with the ergonomics of the safety. On that one, I'd give it a 5 out of 10 best. As far as the hammer, this pistol allows both a double action or a single action trigger pull. And you can cock the hammer easy enough. It doesn't poke you or get caught on things. I do like that. As far as ergonomics of the hammer, I would give that a 8 out of 10. Now, the sights I do like. They're Glock style, 3 white dots, and they work really well for me. I found the sights very convenient. I would give that one a good 9 out of 10. Safety would seem to be the weak part. The trigger is good. The trigger pull is long, surprisingly easy in double action. In the single action mode, I feel like it's really long, and it only releases at the very end, which you're kind of waiting for, So double action pull, I give a good 8 out of 10. Single action pull, although very light, it's kind of weird, and I would give it more like a 6 out of 10 for single action pull. Now, let's look at how we load CO2 into the pistol. The back strap simply slides down like that to expose the CO2 chamber, if you will. So we'll go ahead and get a 12-gram CO2 cartridge out here. Although the instructions don't say anything about it, I like to put a drop of pellet gun oil on the top of a CO2 cartridge on any pistol like this. Put a little drop on there. That'll keep the seals lubricated and just tends to help things keep working well over the long run. Now all that we need to do then is slide that into the cradle, if you will. Then go ahead and we do have the pistol on safe at the moment. Go ahead, turn that. You may or may not hear it pierce, but I find it to pierce quite reliably. So simply turn it till it stops. Don't have to crank on it or use brute force. The back strap slides in again pretty easily. Oops, of course I'm wrapping my arms around the camera to do this, but I'll make it look really hard. There we go. Slides right in. Let's try that again and see if I can make it look a little less difficult. Slides right in. You can still access the CO2 term, the CO2 key, if you will. And also, one of the ergonomics we did not talk about that I do like a lot, there is a button for the magazine release, and it is a spring-loaded magazine release. So it shoots it out quite well. Magazine inserts easily, but sometimes I get confused about which way to do it. It's kind of nondescript. The only real indicator is on this side. We'll see if we can get it to appear. There's a little BB and pellet insignia. We'll go ahead and let that motorcycle pass. On this side, there's a little BB and pellet insignia. That side goes to the back. Slide it in, works just fine. If you happen to get it turned the wrong way, it'll only go in halfway and then stop, and you have to hit the magazine release and then pull it out by hand. So that's a little bit weird. Loading the magazine is something we'll look at in a moment. We can go ahead and make sure that the CO2 cartridge is pierced by unsafing the pistol. We do have a red indicator. Go ahead and pull the trigger. There you go. We are in fact firing. See, I just put it in wrong. Okay, let's go ahead and look at loading the magazine. That is pretty much why they have the little icon for the pellet and the BB on the back. Now, I was really curious about this dual ammo magazine, and it loads pellets very easily. You simply push them in, one after the other. We'll show you that, and then you rotate it to the next one. Push that in, rotate again. I wondered how it would be for BBs. I was curious, was it a friction fit? Would they be falling in or out? Do you push them in hard? What happens? Actually, and again, I bought this primarily as a BB pistol. BBs load with surprising ease. And how we do that, simply take a BB and put it into the slot. Put this into the next one, and they stay there. There's actually a magnet in the hub. There's a little bit of a retainer that keeps them from just falling right through, but then there's a magnet that keeps them in place until you're actually ready to fire them. So loading BBs is incredibly easy and fast. You simply load 8 of them in the magazine. Once we have 8 loaded, turn the magazine around, load another 8. Again, if we were loading pellets, we look at the little icon, and that's how we make sure we're not loading our pellets backwards. While we're talking about pellets, during my crony testing, I found that the Daisy flat nose pellets I have been using work great. However, the RWS Superdomes did not work. I had repeated jams with those, The jams were kind of difficult to clear because they tend to lock the magazine in place. So you both have to use a rod to push the offending pellet back into the magazine, and then you can get the magazine to release. Sometimes it's back in the magazine, sometimes the magazine releases and it falls out onto the ground, but yeah, not a great situation. Also, when I looked then, some of my other pellets I'd intended to use, like the Crossman Fast Lights, they're simply too long for this little magazine. Now, again, I bought it primarily as a BB pistol, and it is a smooth bore barrel, so pellet accuracy is not going to be great at distance. It does shoot pellets. You find a pellet that works well, like the Daisy wad cutters, and nothing wrong with using it as a pellet gun, but that was not exactly top notch. The magazine is limited in terms of what it will accept. Of course, once we've got the magazine all loaded up, bearing in mind which side the little icon is on, we simply insert the magazine into the magazine well, push it all the way in, you'll hear it click, and you are good to go. We'll go ahead and put it on safe, and we'll do a little bit of shooting here with the P-27 loaded with BBs. All right, here we go. Okay, we've got a target set up there. I'm going to back off to, well, right about 21 feet, 7 yards here. And we'll start with little slow fire using the BBs here in our P-27. Okay, now that was not spectacular as far as target shooting. The pistol does have fixed sights, and really this is one of the first times I've shot it, and the first time I shot it slow fire with BBs in it. So it took me a moment to find out where it's hitting, and at that point it's going to be a matter of practicing a little bit to make sure that we get on target a little better. All right, I'm going to load it this time with pellets, and we'll do the same drill and see how she handles. Okay, I will say that like the BBs, I found the pellets quite easy to load using the Daisy flat nose 8.3 grain pellet. Last time I was shooting, this target's mounted pretty low on the bottom shelf of my workbench, and I was sitting back there on a chair and just shooting unrested from the chair and kind of having to shoot down. This time I'm just going to move the chair away and shoot from a seated position on the ground. I suspect I may have better luck. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Hitting high. well, looks like the pellet is, looks like the pistol is grouping pretty well. I think I really just need a little more time with it. You know, it is a smooth bore barrel, so that's not helping any with the pellets, but at this distance, I also don't think it's hurting us too much. You know, given it the time that I have, I suspect that if I tried again with BBs, I could do substantially better. But yeah, that's by no means bad. Now, I also want to try rapid fire. I'm going to scoot up a little bit from that. We'll load her up again and give that a quick try. Okay, this time we are going to back off to 4 yards here, 12 feet. And I do have pellets loaded. Going to do a little bit of rapid fire with it. And that was 8. You know, I feel like I almost shoot the pistol as well instinctively as I did using those sights. A little worse, but yeah, the grip really lends to pointing well with this pistol. It's actually a lot of fun. All right, let's go on to the next part. So, what do I think of the Gamo P-27 CO2 pistol? Well, it's got a lot going for it. I like the double or single action modes, and the trigger pull is decent in both modes. The ability to fire both BBs and pellets is cool. It does have an underbarrel rail to go ahead and attach a light or a laser. It has a very ergonomic and hand-filling grip that I really enjoy, making it quite pointable. Really like the 3-dot fixed sights. Performs well in rapid fire. Magazine is easy to load. The quiet report definitely makes it backyard friendly. You know, all in all, it's a reliable and accurate pistol that's reasonably priced. As far as cons, well, it's all polymer construction. Velocity doesn't live up to the claims, and it's not really suitable for pesting as advertised. It has limited pellet compatibility. The sights are fixed, they're not adjustable. You know, the advertised velocity of 430 feet per second with an alloy pellet, I think is not realistic given the 322 feet per second with lead, or the 345 feet per second we saw with BBs. But that's really about the only drawbacks that I found to the pistol. If you enjoyed the video, please give us a like. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. Also give some thought to becoming a member. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care.